The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
All right, here's hoping the United States listeners had a happy and safe 4th of July. This is the Brandon Peters Show. Today's episode features, and I am freaking stoked for this, actually, a discussion of 1984's breakdance marvel, Breakin. Joining me for that discussion from So Blu and his brand new YouTube video essay series, which Aaron Newworth and I are not calling anything but the Peter Paris Show. It's Peter Paris.
Hey, good to be here.
Hello, welcome, Pete. Now, my listeners, if they listen to everything, they've heard you before because the commentary series gets released on this show as well as out now with Aaron and Abe, and you are a regular staple of that. But this is like your first time knowing or going in being like on the show proper. So, welcome.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
you've been doing it. Like I really, yeah. Wait, how long have you been doing this now? How many episodes are you on? What episode is this?
39?
Wow.
39
That's
of
great.
like, yeah, of just like the regular Monday shows, not
Wow.
counting the bonus week, the holiday specials week I did. So I've done more. Yeah. So week 39, 40-ish, something like that.
Wow.
Since September of last year. So
Okay.
into September.
Yeah, I was thinking about 6 months, so a little longer.
Yeah, a little longer.
Yeah.
It's gone quick. It's been fun. Still
Yeah.
fun. Still got fresh faces like yourself to come on and talk about it. And I get to people know this, but I give you shit daily. We have a little message group.
Yes, literally daily. Yes.
Literally daily that we argue up and down about films. I give Pete shit. Sometimes Pete's like, "You joking?" I'm like, "I'm always joking." So, but you've recently got a new endeavor doing something you've been wanting to do and been like prepping and working at the video essays on YouTube. Does it have an official name or is it just Pete's YouTube channel?
Well, as my shirt says, years ago, I want to say it was my gamer tag. It was a long time. It was either my gamer tag or Twitter, but somewhere along the line, like my name is Peter James, and somewhere along the line, I thought pajama would be kind of a fun thing. So my video game, my gamer tags, my social media is all pajama. So my YouTube has been pajama for years, and I didn't really post much. Like went to Fiona Apple show, I might like post some footage of being at the show, but I've never really had a theme. But with the pandemic, I really got into, I've always been into podcasts, like your stuff. I love podcasts, but I wasn't really into video essays or video reviews because I didn't really have time. But now that I'm not commuting to work, like most of us, I started watching tons of them on YouTube, and I got into Patrick H. Willems and Lindsay Ellis and the Honest Trailers. I mean, that's not really an essay, but and so I really got into those. Oh, sorry about it. So I just recently took an online class at UCLA. I'm in Los Angeles, and I took an online class at UCLA just for about writing and analysis, and the second part of the class goes into social media. So it was like, oh, do a review on Twitter or whatever. One of the weeks it was like, do a video review, or if you want, do a podcast. And I was like, oh, this is my chance. Like I can totally do a video review or an essay. I should say my job in real life, I work for entertainment studios. So I do promos for old movies, a lot of stuff from like the 70s and 80s. So I'm used to cutting promos. So hopefully that skill worked well into doing video essays. And video essays, in case people don't know, it's kind of like a movie review, but it could be about one movie, or it could be like about a theme that you see, but it's not necessarily just about, is it good or bad? it's more about like kind of diving in and stuff. And so I really wanted to do that. So yeah, so I've done two traditional movie reviews, and I've done 2 video essays. One on Step Up to the Streets, which, as we know, Breakin,
Right.
precursor to that. And then I did a top 5 on Taylor Swift's music videos. And I know you love music videos.
I do. Yeah.
Discuss music videos. That was another thing that I felt like I didn't see a lot of people discussing music videos, and I was like, oh, that might be kind of fun to like talk about.
So untapped resource,
yeah,
it really is.
So it's great.
Crazy. Yeah, it's kind of because while we still have music videos, they are kind of become a relic, like because they're not.
I mean, they I don't know. I know people say that, but
they're not as crucial to the marketing as they used to be.
Right. I would agree on that. But when you have, I mean, I don't know, how old is the what was Gangnam Style? What is that? 5-7 years?
10?
It's a while. Maybe 10. That's like billions of views. I mean, so it's not. I mean, it's not
still different.
Right. And a Taylor Swift video, like up until her new album, which is smaller because it's an indie thing or whatever, or an indie vibe, like her 2 big albums, those are like, you know, hundreds of millions or billions of views. So I was like, well, they're pretty big. But you're right. I would agree with you. When I was a kid, you had MTV, you would talk about the latest Nirvana video or Michael Jackson or whatever. And that was a thing. So I understand what you're saying about it being its use as a marketing tool, I think, was much more prevalent in the 80s and 90s. But I don't know. I definitely feel like when I like an artist, especially like a pop artist, I definitely want to see their music video. Lady Gaga, probably another one. I definitely want to see what their music videos are. I hope they never go away, because I would assume these videos are pretty expensive.
Right. No,
ones, like a Taylor Swift video.
But back then, you were a band or a pop artist, like part of your first album and everything was, oh, we got to do the music video, pick the 3 songs, we'll shoot them before you go. Now, you might not get that. Like, it's
true. That's true.
And the ones we're talking about are huge and hugely established artists, and possibly the hangovers from like when music videos were last somewhat prevalent too.
Right.
You got your Katy Perry's, Taylor Swift's, all them, and Gaga, of course. But plus, Gaga's always going to do it. She's very theatrical, so I would imagine we see
right.
I mean, but a lot of old bands and stuff have given up, and yeah, it's just interesting.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I go to Pitchfork, and Pitchfork will always have a bunch of indie rock music videos that look like super low budget and stuff. And some of them are pretty cool. And you're right. I don't know what their pop culture like penetration is on that level. That's true. But like Billie Eilish, who's big, she has tons of music videos, and she now directs her music videos. So they're definitely, I know, you're right. They are definitely a thing, but they're not. They are not the water cooler thing that they once were.
No, I know. Yeah. There's no.
But I love them.
No, I do. I think they're great. I hope they don't go away. Or I hope some people keep doing.
I think for people like you and I, because I don't know, like, if you were a teenager now, but I think for myself, music videos were probably the most mainstream way that I would see anything that was non-narrative, like. Not just saying it could just be dancing, but like a Peter Gabriel video where it's got strange stop motion stuff going on. I feel like for a lot of people my age and around that generation, it was our first experience with things where it's not just a television show story or a movie. And I think that's really cool. Of course, like if you end up studying film, you see much crazier stuff. But
it was like comfortable avant-garde. Like if you did a film that was just that, it'd be like, what in the hell am I watching? But it's like Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer. It's like, oh, it's kind of quirky. It goes with the music. All of a sudden, it makes sense. But you put that in a film, it's like some weird dream sequence, or people just don't connect with it. But you put the music to it. It can, and not all of those work that way. There are avant-garde, weird ass music videos out there, but for the most part, there's such a weird thing. And here's one I pointed out. I haven't done one of these on my show because they're not really discussion points, but the one that comes to mind, Garbage's video for Paranoid, which I call the shopping mall, like the Buckle type music video where it's purely made just to be on a screen while someone's trying on a pair of jeans or something, because there's nothing going on other than some slick black and white style, the band walking around singing, and it has no purpose other than to be in the hot clothing stores at the mall, blaring in the background and having a visual to go with it. So you see the band, like they're just, and it's not like poorly done or something. It's just uninteresting narratively or artistically. It's just there to be like, oh, cool. Where I guess extra large shirt, please.
Yeah.
Like that type of video. But it's
I mean, I'd say like, I would say like, I would say it's artistic, but sort of to your point, I would say a lot of the what would say like the Hype Williams videos of the 90s and early 2000s, like Missy Elliott, Busta Rhymes. I do think there's a lot of cool artistry in those videos, but those are the videos that I imagine would be really good at a club.
Right. Yeah.
You're at some crazy dance club. You're at the bar. You look up and there's like just Missy Elliott in the garbage bag thing, and you just see it for a second.
A faux concert feeling. Yeah. Like
yeah, definitely. It's super colorful and like definitely. It's sort of akin to how, I mean, you of course know all this. It's sort of like when you are reviewing a new 4K Blu-ray. Sometimes there's movies where, and I know people have said this before, it almost feels like the movie's not great, but if you saw it on a television at Best Buy, you'd be like, wow, that Transformers, that looks really cool. Look how much this shows off my television. Like, and I'm not bagging on Transformers or anything. I'm just saying that like, there is definitely something to that. It's like, it catches your eye, but you're not even necessarily meant to watch this from start to finish or whatever.
You want it as a like demo, not like, like, and it's funny because like we talked about with our friend Yancey Burns, like he's pointed out like, Scream Factory, Arrow, they put out these like old, once considered trashy Italian exploitation flicks, but when you see them cleaned up and stuff, like you take them seriously. Like they used to be these ratty VHSs or these like barely cared about DVDs, and now they come to these Blu-rays and you're like, wow, they might have known something about making a film or something like that, or maybe they're still bad and I'm just marveling at how well the restoration is
now.
and stuff, and I take it better. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. Do you got any upcoming videos or anything you're working on now?
No, I will probably I saw Black Widow, so I'm going to do a written review for the site for whysoblu.com, and then I will probably do a short video review of Black Widow. But as far as an essay, I don't know. I mean, I really wanted to do a thing on music videos, and I really wanted to do a thing on a dance thing. I could keep going, like maybe I could do something on Breakin, maybe I could do something on other music videos. I don't know. I sometimes think about, and I think a lot of video essays are like this, you think about a film or a series that you love, like the Matrix sequels and why they're great. I've seen there's a ton of those online, where somebody wants to see something that everyone thinks is terrible, so they want to defend it. I could probably think of something like that. I don't know. I would like to. One of the things I really like about your show is, and I think that's about anybody who does, things on YouTube or a podcast, is it's very much about consistency. And so in my mind, especially because we're in summer movie season, I'm like, well, I really just got to keep doing this. I think that when it was a class project, like it puts you under the gun. You're like, all right, I'm hopefully gonna be creative, and I hope this is really good. But then when you're not, it's that weird thing of like, well, should I just keep doing this? Even if it's not good, the act of doing it hopefully makes me better. I'm assuming you would say yes, that's a good thing to just keep going.
Imaginary deadline. Like I always need to have a video by here. And here's the thing I'll tell you about, you may think it's not all there, or you might just be like, well, I just got something out. Come around, someone comes to you and been like, man, that was one of my favorites, or when you did that, I really like that point. And you're like I've had that with, I've never done that in podcasting, but I've had some of my Why So Blu reviews. I just get stacks or I get behind and I got to catch up, and I can't put the concentrated effort into some of my reviews. I'm like, okay, I can let me get my 3 to 5 paragraphs and call it a day on my content. Specs are another thing, because I always like, well, by the time a Blu-ray's coming out or something, like, they don't need my movie review. They want to know the specs because it's the Blu-ray. But
Right.
people have come to me on shit that I swear I mailed in, and like, whoa, I'm like, well, that came out of my ass. But all right, glad it touched you, or glad you
You know
got a
what?
real thing.
It's so funny you say that. I literally had, I wouldn't say it was as big a praise as you were doing, but a little behind this, if I can talk about it, behind the scenes here at So Blu, I ended up doing Godzilla versus Kong.
Right.
You were going to do Godzilla versus Kong. I ended up doing it, and I did it quickly because I was like, oh, okay, I'll just do this. I rewatched it.
Mhm.
I really enjoy the movie. And then, on my Facebook page, on my Twitter, I always post my Why So Blues, and I usually get like some likes, like something like that. But I actually woke up yesterday, and a woman I met in an improv class I took, like, shared my Godzilla Kong review, and she's like, oh, this is really good. My friend Peter, and this is one of the best Godzilla movies ever. And I was like, what? Like, and it was sort of to what you're saying, that in my mind, I was like, okay, well, I'll write the review part, but the big deal is the audio and the video. It's like, how good is this 4K compared to streaming and stuff? But you're right. It was not something that, I wrote it in a night because I was like, I just got to get this done. Like, so, but yeah, that is always really nice. It's cool if somebody like appreciates. It's cool anytime somebody appreciates something.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I always very appreciative of, praise and stuff. It's crazy to think that someone would care about, I do it because I like it, because I enjoy things that people do. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Well, I'm always hard on myself too. I always like, I'm a hack. I always have that. It's just my mind. I'm like, why would someone pay attention to me or like something I'm doing? It's always just a weird thing. It's just who I am. I'm not trying to be fake humble or anything. It's just how I roll, which I can imagine you probably have that same feeling. So you're like, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Like, that's why I'm not an alpha. I'm not like, yeah, you like my stuff. I'm like, all right. I'm confident in my work, and I'm not. It's an odd.
No, I feel the same. In doing a podcast like yours, or in what I'm trying to do with the video and stuff, it's a strange thing because like right now Black Widow is not out yet. So in theory, if I were to do the video thing and post it, in my mind, I'm like, whoa, maybe it'll get some views because not everybody has seen it. But I don't know. Then I'm like, but there's still enough outlets. And then something like, and maybe this can connect us to talking about Breakin', when I did my first video essay, I wanted to do it on Step Up 2. And in many ways, what I like about Step Up 2 is the same thing I like about Breakin'. And I sort of thought, I think mistakenly, I was like, well, how many people have done something about Step Up 2? So I don't know, like, is it good to find something in pop culture that maybe a lot of people haven't talked about? Or is it better to just be like, look, man, it's a Marvel movie. Everybody knows about these Marvel movies. Just go with that. I don't know.
That's what I've been
sure.
I'll tell you what, like, yeah, if it's probably going to get you attention with the Marvel, but how far buried into the Marvel pit are you going to be? And
right.
I don't know. My show here, I've been trying to just go for odd favorites of people, stuff that people aren't talking about every week. And I'm sure my show probably could get better numbers if I just had more pop-click SEO friendly titles, but I'm not interested in that. And I'm interested in, like, how many people are searching for a podcast talking about how to lose a guy in 10 days.
Right.
I want to have that. That's the conversations I want to have.
Right.
Like, we all currently in the moment with Marvel, it's cyclical conversations. Like, it can be a different person, but they're going to hit on the same things. They're going to, if I'm going to talk about something like that, like when I did my Back to the Future episode, I've got to have a reason why it's going to not be the same conversation. I did back when I first started the show, I did Back to the Future, but we recast it as if it was made in the 90s. That was our conversation. So we talked about the characters and what they meant and stuff, and how you would get another actor to fit that, or what means. Those kind of things came out in a different way. and we had a lot of fun with it. And I got a lot of good feedback on that episode. I just worked my ass off on putting it together that I'm like, I haven't approached remaking anything else yet, but that was the conversation I would have. I'm like, that's an interesting angle to have with Back to the Future, because we can all, it's the movie's that old, podcasts are that old,
Right.
written essays, like it's been done. So I don't know, what you could do is like Shudder releases a movie every Thursday. You could start doing essays on those. There's hungry horror fans that are going to be looking
That's true.
for those, movies. I mean, granted, you're not going to be in the, it's probably going to be a dice roll with how good they are, but that's something. But yeah, yeah, Step Up 2 is a great choice. Like that's a excellent choice that people probably aren't getting visual essays on all the time. And it deserves it. It really, I mean, that series really does. So
Yeah, like, oh no, well, thanks, man. Like,
Mhm.
I really wanted. I thought it goes kind of with your how to lose a guy in 10 days thing. Is that like right now, where I am right now, and I'm sure you, even though you've done so many, I'm sure you somewhat feel this way because you're still in your first year.
Mhm.
Is that it's such a cliche thing to say, but like right now, as long as you're having fun, if you're
Mhm.
like, you know what, this is something I want to do, this is something I want to talk to people
Yeah.
about. I mean, I think that's kind of all that really should matter, you know?
Mhm.
Like, yeah.
Well, the fun of this show is the bounce for me right now. Like I love, since I'm not selecting movies pretty much all the time, it's the way it's been floating has been fun as hell. Like I took a week off, and then I came back and we did The Haunting, then I did The Writer, then I did Hawk the Slayer, and now I'm doing Breakin. Like, oh, and How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was in that bounce too. It was like doop,
Wait,
doop, doop, doop.
which haunting did you do?
The original.
Did you do all of them?
No, just the
Oh,
original.
okay.
Just the original.
But did you touch on the remakes just as
We touched a bit about it, but it was
okay?
primarily focused on the original. But yeah, I went for it was Haunting, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, The Writer, Hawk the Slayer, and now Breakin'. And I love the I'm like, this is so weird. And I don't know where I'm going next. I don't get and yeah, it's just been crazy. And then after this, well, I don't know where it's gonna. Well, I do know possibly where it's gonna go after this, but I'm not gonna say it because I've gotten myself in trouble because things get pushed back and change once in a while. But yeah, crazy. But yeah, you have I mean, you put together videos before. You said background was post-production type things, something when you went out to LA you wanted to do, or like what was
When I moved to LA a billion years ago in 2000,
Mhm.
I honestly I just knew I wanted to work in entertainment.
Mhm.
I was a big fan of film criticism already, but I was probably like most other people. I was like, oh, I want to, write, direct, act. I want to work on a show, work on a movie.
Mhm.
And then I ended up getting a job at E! Entertainment Television, which would later become known for like Keeping Up with the Kardashians and
Yeah.
things like that. Things I'm not really into.
Mhm.
So I would do promos for reality shows, but E Entertainment had a component. They had an E Online, and I ended up getting to know the editor. And I was like, "Hey, man, do you guys ever do movie reviews or video games?" That's another big thing I was in, and
That's
they
right,
didn't have
yeah.
anybody for video games, and so that was my way in. I was like, "Oh well, I could give you like a
Yeah.
5 games this year that are awesome," and so that was my first gig, like freelancing for like a site or whatever.
Yeah.
And I really liked it. And then I would say my life in LA has been professionally, basically in promos. Not like I said, now I worked at MGM before, and now I'm at Entertainment Studios. But like on a personal level, I've liked reviewing basically movies and games.
Mhm.
Strangely, I'm not really that into television. I watch a ton of television,
Yeah.
but I have I have a friend who does a podcast, and I go her podcast where we talk about whatever we watched that week or whatever. And what I like about that is, I mean, I know those people. So again, it's just, well, not, I think you meant bounce in a different way, but I like the
Yeah.
back and forth with
Yeah.
talking to people about what they're watching. But I would say primarily, yeah, I pretty much stick to like movies and video games and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, I get like with TV, like I had a big run, like I'd say probably like 2004 to like, I don't know, somewhere in there, but like I was huge on TV for a while. I had my, like when Lost and 24 were hitting their
Oh
prime and
yeah, really
stuff. I
good.
was
Yeah.
really big into TV, and somewhere along the line, like I'm just like, if something gets canceled, I'm like, oh well, shame. You know, like I used to get like, oh, we need to bring it back, and now like everything comes back, and I'm just like, remember when shows ended and we got new shows, and we liked them, and yeah, like I don't know. So I feel on TV, like even though like Doctor Who's one of my like, favorite things in the
Oh yeah,
world,
yeah.
but and I like that, but like yeah, the TV shows, like I'll find one to get hooked on it, but there's just so much stuff. Like, well, you got to watch this, and you watch this. Are you watching this? No, I haven't watched this, but I'm watching this one. Oh, I didn't know about that one. Oh, like that's what TV is now, and it's like so much with the film. I can sit, enjoy my story. I can go to a quiet room away from everybody in a big
Right.
theater and watch it. Like TV can't give me that, and a lot of TV shows aren't even structured well enough. Like I get serialization. I get a continuous story, but man, I so many lacking like giving an episode its own 3 acts. Like it's some of these shows are just like bleh, we're just moving on till we get to our 13 episode order. Like I like Succession I watched and I'm like, holy crap, you could walk into an episode of Succession, get a full story out, and be like, I like this show, and just continue from there. Like, and it's serialized, but you could pick up on shit. Like, and it's not like, oh, I want shows that are less complex. That's a complex show, but it's welcoming, and it every episode, while being part of a bigger story, has its own conflict with it. Like, it's not like, oh, we're just taking a movie and making it 13 hours instead of 2. It's
Right.
it's really, television's a different medium and for a reason. Like, but I don't know. What do I know?
I agree. I really enjoyed the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
And one of the things I liked about Queen's Gambit, though, it was only 7 episodes
Mhm.
and it's one and done.
Yep.
There's no more Queen's Gambit. And I was like, okay, it is sort of what you're saying. It's basically it's a 7-hour movie about a chess prodigy.
But they handled that
I love
quite
that
well.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
and it's handled very well. Like, honestly, for me, I feel very old fashioned in my taste for television.
Mhm.
I do think Succession's really good. I've
You're a
only
big
seen the first
like old school
season.
sitcom guy too.
Yeah, I'm very big on sitcom, and it's weird because what I love about movies and what I love about video games and sort of some music videos,
Mhm.
I like art that is pushing technology. That the two kind of go hand in hand. So like that's one of the things that
Mhm.
I don't love about the Marvel movies, even though I like them, is that I always feel like the effects are always okay. Like compared to like Fury Road, where I'm like,
Right.
oh my god, I can't believe how real this looks. And I mean, some of it is. Strangely though, with television, I honestly like the traditional television format. I like the Frasier. I like they did it in front of a live audience. It's 3 cameras,
Mhm.
and all I really care about is the chemistry of the actors and the writing. That's
Well, they've
really
taken
it.
the
Like I
theater
don't.
out, the theater
Yeah,
essence
I
out
like
of
that.
television now, and
Right.
I can agree with you on that, and I feel bad because like the sitcom, and I'm a big fan of many of them myself too. Like I grew up on those, but like that used to be the nice 9 to 5 job for actors and
Yeah.
production people in the industry, and they're doing away with that. And they're like,
Yeah.
I remember I listened to an interview with David Koechner, and he was striving to hopefully get a sitcom that would stick for like 6, 7 years because he's like, I have a family, I have kids. Like, I don't like doing these like shoots all over. He's like, I'd like to just go to the office and come home with being an actor. And that's what I would like to do right now in this period of my life. Shoot a movie or 2 a year and be on a sitcom. Like, that'd be great. But there, everything's got to be down to earth, gritty, like, but yeah, taking the theater out of it. And I mean, like the BBC stuff, I love watching old BBC show because I'm just amazed because um TV in the US was informed by movies, and TV in the UK was informed by stage. So
Right.
they've got different influences, but even they have moved toward the more movie things. But I just love seeing what they're able to pull off with their limitations in a studio, like set building, all that stuff's fantastic. And just seeing how they did with 3 cameras and
I
rehearsals.
have a question for you, and
Mhm.
I honestly don't remember if I've brought this up in our Facebook chat
Yeah.
that you mentioned that we're on. Um, I think you've heard this too, is that like Spielberg and Lucas were very influenced by the serials that they would see
Mhm.
at a matinee when they were younger. So
Right.
like Flash Gordon or an adventure serial. And so that's what gets to Star Wars and Raiders and everything. And in the 80s and 90s, blockbusters and brands became so prevalent that if you're a fan of Star Wars or Marvel, you kind of see all of it.
Mhm.
And what I'm wondering is, because there is so much content now, there's so many shows on streaming, on just so many things. Do you think in a weird way, not in a budget way, but in a attention span way, we are going to see future filmmakers or television show people that are influenced not necessarily by one show, like going, oh, I really loved Succession,
Mhm.
but from the act of basically seeing bits of things all the time? Because I keep thinking of in the 30s and 40s, you go to a theater, you see 5 minutes of Flash Gordon, it's episode 20.
Mhm.
You have no idea what happened before or after because you might not see the next episode. But for those 7 minutes, you're like into it. And I keep wondering if, because there's so much content now, I wonder if that is going to be an interesting like result that is going to inspire people, that people eventually can be like, look, man, I can't just watch all 25 Marvel movies. Maybe I'm just going to like this one thing. And then I'm going to like this other thing that, like you said, isn't related. And then they kind of mix it up in a stew and then they come up with their own thing. That's
Yeah.
what was so cool about Star Wars
Right.
Raiders, was that they were kind of like influenced by a lot of things. And so I'm wondering now if we're going to see young people that, I mean, they're on TikTok, they're on everything. They're just seeing all these little bits of things,
Mhm.
and if that will make them form something new.
I
If
don't
so,
know.
I think that's really great.
It's gonna be interesting to see where
I hope what
where
I
it
said
goes.
made any sense.
Whatever it
at all.
is, we know our friend Yancey will hate it. Yeah, it's interesting because you never know what they're gonna come up with. Are we even in tune with what they're really in tune with right now? We're old. We find out
I have
later.
no idea.
But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. Someone's gonna make something, of course, always that blows your mind, changes the game, and we'll know what that is right off the bat. Like it's not gonna take a while. I mean, you have things that like Avatar when that came out, it was like, whoa. Just and then everything was 3D. And it more so that like I know Avengers was a game changer. No, it just made the studios make a bunch of fail the launch franchises or whatever. But someone's gonna make something that knocks off the superhero thing at some point. And people have got
do you
shitty
think
with me, but when I say it, but like they don't like tell me how many westerns get made a year that are big prevalent. Like,
well, right. I mean, I guess the question that I always wonder is whatever is going to be the next thing, is it already happening? It's just not, it hasn't like really permeated pop culture the way something like MCU is. Because let's be fair, like as you know, I mean, superhero movies had been around for quite a while
right.
before Iron Man.
Yeah.
But something happened where that just became a juggernaut
What
in
they
the
did,
last, 10, 12 years.
They took an ingredient from television and planted it in the movies. Like for some
Right.
reason that you had to
Yes,
see
it
the
is.
episode.
Yeah.
You had to see the episode. You had to see, and really the only thing that was the connective tissue was a post-credit scene. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's Easter eggs within the movie, but it told a cohesive story, start to finish, and that's what gets missed on by most of the people trying to make the competition. But they injected a sense of television into movie going, and
Right. And I think that that's what they tried to do with Disney, tried to do with Star Wars. And I remember when Force Awakens came out, I don't remember who it was. I feel like it's somebody big, like it's maybe some big critic. But somebody said when Force Awakens came out, someone's like, "Oh, this new season of Star Wars looks fantastic," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's kind of funny." Like, and I think they tried to do that with less. The results weren't as good. But you're right; it is essentially like Yeah, it is the mindset of what television is that works for the Marvel movies. I mean, would you say that's the same for the Fast and Furious, or no? You say it's not quite the same.
Those are events. Those feel like
those are more traditional, like a Jurassic Park movie,
right?
Or whatever,
yeah,
like
Jurassic Park, or what Batman would have been in the '90s. The new James Bond. It's just they come, they come out at frequent pace, and they.
What would you call the Conjuring universe? Because those are not. They're not just Conjuring. It's Annabelle. It's.
I don't think it has that TV fact. I think it just has the movie sequel factor to it. But it's different than Marvel, I would say. Like, because you could just, I don't know. I think someone winding up at an Annabelle movie is going to the horror movie of the weekend, but they.
That's true.
Have a It's weird.
Would you like to see another studio? Because we've seen studios have tried, like the Dark Universe and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Would you like to see a studio try what Marvel did with something that you like, with a comic book or something that you're like, oh, I think this would be really good for that format?
No, because I just want to see good one and done films now. I've been burned. I've been burned out. Like I don't know. Like I go to this stuff. I keep up with it, but I just want to see like an Annihilation. Like I want those. Like I want to see movies like that come out and people go to them, people see them, people will be wowed by them. But yeah, I don't know. Like everything you love never goes away now. So it's
you bring up a thing, and I don't even think it's the same studio, because I think Annihilation is that Paramount? I think it's a big studio.
Yeah, Paramount did it.
But what we did get in the last 10 years that ran alongside the Marvel success is A24.
Yep.
A24 is definitely an aesthetic. It is like their movies is a type of movie, and they're not sequels or whatever.
Right.
But
almost like a Hammer house. Horror tended to.
Oh, it's A24. Yeah. That's a thing.
Yeah, horror's always had that. Like they had. I mean, they had the Hammer. They had back in the day. They had American
Would
International.
New Line count for that?
New Line for their start would count.
There was the Freddy's, right? Or New Line,
and they had Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hidden.
Right.
You had you had Dimension films in the 90s.
Yep.
You had Twisted Pictures, Platinum Dunes, Dark House production. I mean, horror always has the studio and the brand that puts them out. Now we got A24 and Blumhouse. Sam Raimi's got the Spook House Pictures, that one. Yeah. So yeah, you got a brand, and then they release movies, and you expect a certain thing from that brand. That's kind of always been horror's game, but there'll be sequels within it and stuff. But yeah, no, definitely there. But yeah, I don't know. I want like a movie that wows, and good filmmakers getting to do what good filmmakers want to do. That's
totally.
Yeah, I want to do. But let's. I guess we can move on to Breakin. You got anything else?
Oh no, yeah.
Got plenty of good off-topic banter that might go into that'll probably go in the uncut episode. So that's great. All right. So Breakin is directed by Joel Silberg, written by Gerald Scaife, Charles Parker, and Alan de Beauvoir. It stars Lucinda Dickey, Adolfo Quinones. Is it Quinones? Yeah, Quinones. Michael Chambers, Christopher McDonald, and Ice-T. And look closely, folks. It features a cameo from action icon Jean-Claude Van Damme. This is 2 years before No Retreat, No Surrender, and 4 years before his breakout in Bloodsport. Features a struggling young jazz dancer who meets up with two breakdancers. Together, they become the sensation of the street crowds. So, Pete, tell us why you wanted to bring Breakin to the show.
Honestly, I mean, it's really just a personal thing. When I was young and I saw Breakin in theaters, because I'm that old, I would say before Breakin, all my movie things were basically pretty much, I guess, Star Wars, or at least Lucas Spielberg, because by that time I had already seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I'd probably seen some Star Trek. Right, it's 84, so I think
Star Trek 2 would have been out there. Yeah, Wrath
Star
of
Trek 2 would have been out by then.
And I think
So by
84 was Search for Spock, I think. Or no, that was was it the Whales?
No, Search for Spock is after Khan, and then the Whales one.
Well, no, yeah, I just was trying to get the year right because I know they made one of them real close.
Proximity. Is it Voyage Home? Is that
Voyage Home's the
Whale
Whales? Yep.
Yeah, Voyage Home. I feel like I would say Breakin' is a big deal for me personally because until that movie, and it's not just a movie, it's also like, you know, hip hop in the 80s and breakdancing and graffiti and street art, you know, all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like before that, my pop culture love was, I guess what we would say is genre, like horror movies. Like I'd seen The Thing. I remember I begged my mom to let me go see The Thing. My mom, terrified of horror films, and I think my aunt or someone took me, and I was probably way too, what was that, 82? I was probably way too young to see The Thing. But so I would say my taste basically as a young movie buff was basically genre. It was like sci-fi horror. And Breakin' was the kind of thing where I was, you know, 13 or 14. And so I was just at that age when like, sort of like there's maybe kids down the street that are starting to do this thing. And then I'm getting into breakdancing and your cardboard box and stuff. And then this movie comes out by Canon, which of course I have no idea. I would later see that documentary about Canon Studios and everything. But like, I never really seen anything. It is so strange to say, but I think for me, it was one of the first movies I saw. This is going to sound ridiculous. It was one of the first movies I saw where they were real people. I mean, they're not. It is such a weird scripted candy version of Los Angeles. I mean, I'm from Chicago, but what I mean by that is they're not superheroes. They're not Jedis. They're not teenagers running away from Jason. It's just like, these are people living in LA and she wants to be a dancer and I don't know. I thought that seemed so cool to me. Over the years, it has just become a mainstay. It's a thing that I've had on VHS, DVD, Blu-ray. I've just seen it so many times. When I was younger, I remember, I think I saw it at a first run theater with my best friend. And then it went to a dollar theater. And when I say a dollar theater, because I have no idea when people say that now what that means, but it was literally like $1.50.
Yeah, I had those, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I saw Breakin' like 7 times. Like we every day after school, just let's go see Breakin' again. So I saw Breakin' so many times. I love it. And then the other thing I want to say, which kind of relates to the essay I did on Step Up, is that I don't think, I mean this in the best way, that I understand when people talk about what they love about a movie is, especially if you become a film fan, or I guess if you television, whatever, you really start to love the craft of acting, of writing, of direction. And that's all great. I don't think that, I mean, I love that. But I do think, sometimes I think that as audience members, we sometimes forget that, or we're sort of fooling ourselves if we're thinking that the only reason we think a movie is good is because it has to have good characters and it has to have a good plot. I don't think that's true. I think you probably could talk way more than I can, that what I'm getting at is probably sort of what you like about the Friday the 13th movies. I don't think anybody would say, oh my God, this is Academy Award winning writing.
Right.
Acting.
Yeah, no.
No, that's not why you're seeing a Friday the 13th movie. And I think that, yeah, a breakdancing, a dance movie, you know, by this time Saturday Night Fever had already been out, and that's obviously a very well made like drama / dance. But I think there is something to losing yourself in a movie, and it's not really, it is not about what we think of on that craft level. I do think it is about the craft of dancing and the use of music and editing. So I'm not saying there's no craft. There is, of course, craft, but it is a different thing. So even though I also laugh at the clunky dialogue in Breakin' and some of the acting and the plot structure, I do. I think it's silly and I can't defend it. I don't really think it matters.
No.
And again, maybe to your Friday the 13th thing, like I don't know. I feel like we don't discuss that enough. And then the last thing I want to say, and then I'll let you talk, I'm sorry, is that it's like when I think on another level, when we talk about the Mission Impossible movies, which are made on a huge budget and they're extremely well made. And those are well acted and everything. But honestly, I couldn't tell you anything about Ethan Hunt as a character. He's Tom Cruise, and I love Tom Cruise. But like, what I like about Mission Impossible is, wow, Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, they've designed these really cool set pieces where Tom and the crew are doing these amazing stunts and everything, and it looks great and it moves great, and that's great. But is it really about it? I'm not saying it's not about the plot, because it's like, it is, but I don't know. So to me, something like Mission Impossible, that is a $150 million version. But something like Step Up, I think, can have the same charms, where I just really like, I love all this kind of stuff. I love the dancing. But anyways, go ahead.
Step Up's it's a feeling. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's an inspiration, and it plays out that way. And the fact that it does have that clunky dialogue and stuff, that's part of the charm. And because it doesn't have the best actors, but it's got the right ones for this because of their charismatic
And
people.
their skills as dancers.
And their skills they're skilled dancers.
Right.
And they like Ozone and Turbo, put them in anything. Like, they are fun as hell. Like,
and they're very charming. Yeah.
I love this movie. Like, I really do. I think this is fun as hell. And I didn't see it till like I was older. But I was like, damn, this thing, like, I want to dance after it. Like, that's
right,
the power of Breakin. You want to go, you want to move, you want to dance, you enjoy it. And it's not even like
change
the best
world through dance.
It's not even the best directed thing in the world either. Like, but like, I like the people they picked to put in this damn movie. Like, it works so well. I'm glad it got a sequel. Like, it deserved it. And I don't know. It's got enough of the story to be about dancing, to teach us about a different kind of dancing, to show overcoming adversity in many different ways through the dance, and the friendships we made along the way, of course. But it works. It's just, and it's quick too, and it doesn't try to over dramatize stuff. It hits the necessary beats that it's supposed to, and yeah, I think it succeeds wholeheartedly. Like, we talk about star ratings all the time, but like, Breakin' would be a high star rating for me that people are like, what?
Yeah.
But the feeling I have after it, and I've returned to this movie a lot. Like, I showed this movie. I was like, you know what? I'm going to show this movie to my kids. They freaking loved it.
Oh, that's awesome.
They were up and dancing. They liked Ozone and Turbo. And then when I had it on, I was watching it to prep for the episode last night. My son goes, "Oh, you're watching the dancing movie?" He didn't remember the name. He's like, "Yeah." He's like, and he sat and watched it for a bit again, like, because he saw Ozone and Turbo. He's like, "Here we go." And this comes together from a very, very canon produced thing, because the Menahem and Golan, they put it together, and they've got like this Israeli director making his American debut, trying to this breakdancing. Like, is he the right guy to understand this? He would later, and oddly enough, he'd later direct the movie Rappin'.
Oh, nice.
And he did Lambada. So
the Forbidden Dance.
He was into the dance and the popular waves. But in the Scaife, the guy who wrote the screenplay. So there's three guys who wrote the screenplay. Dave Beauvoir, he also produces This Is It, credit wise, and Parker, he writes Breakin' too. That's their kind of thing. But Scaife, he ended up being a production manager for M. Night Shyamalan, pretty much. He did Signs, The Village, Lady in the Water, Happening, Last Airbender. He did the Matrix sequels, Van Helsing, Jarhead, and it was a construction accountant on whatever that is, on Titanic, Congo, Landis's Innocent Blood, Wayne's World, Predator 2, Bugsy, Patch Adams, Mission to Mars, and recently Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. So he's got a interesting side career from being a screenwriter, and it's shot by the cinematographer of Ernest Scared Stupid, and also he's got the Lucinda Dickey trilogy down, because he shoots Breakin' 2 and Ninja 3. Domination, and also shot Masters of the Universe. So he was Hanina Bear was on hand at Canon as well. But I mean, this movie was.
Is she in Master of the Universe?
No, she's not. She's Lucinda Dickey. She's in
Because
this.
she's in Ninja 3.
Breakin.
She's in Ninja 3.
Yeah. So and
Breakin' 1 and
Breakin'
2. That was
so
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Lucinda Dickey was like this girl that Canon thought was going to be their it girl. They needed a Jennifer Beals person, and she was coming off. She had been in Grease 2 and was a solid gold dancer, and they gave her this multi-picture deal. I think they gave her a 4-picture deal and only came through on 3 of them. But she would do Breakin'. After this, she goes on to Ninja 3: The Domination, which if you haven't seen that movie, put it at the top of your list. It is batshit crazy.
I was gonna say, as I recall, because I've seen parts of it. Maybe is it that she's possessed? Is that what it is?
It is Flashdance meets The Exorcist. Meets one of the ninja movies from Canon, and it's a sequel to Ninja 2 somehow. And it's nuts. It's one of those just, I mean, it's a party movie. Like you put it on with a group of friends and everybody's having a good time. You'll never think of V8 the same again. And it's just wild. It's hard to explain, but it is Flashdance, The Exorcist, and a ninja movie. Like it's wild.
It's interesting what you say though, because like I had a huge crush on Lucinda Dickey, obviously. Like I had huge crush on her, and I feel like sort of the same in Step Up 2 when you had Brianna Evigan, who is basically Step Up 2 is kind of like their version of Breakin'. What's interesting is like in the world we live in now, we're talking about streaming and there's just way more opportunities. I wouldn't say that I think Brianna Evigan has become like some big star. She had,
right.
What is it? Sorority Row, the remake of Sorority Row. And but if you look at her credits at IMDb, she has consistently worked. Like she's probably been on Law and Order. Like she's been on things where it's like, oh, she's in one episode. And I feel like Lucinda Dickey, if you put her in the mid 2000s in the same position leading a dance movie, she probably would be doing okay. Yeah. Like she'd probably be like, yeah, she's doing a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I feel like to me, I'm like, oh man, what happened to Lucinda Dickey? Like she's so great, you know? Like yeah, it just wasn't. I don't think she had the opportunities back then for, you know, she's not going to get a Julia Roberts role. Like so. Right. Yeah.
No, and Canon took chances on people that probably never would have ever had any other chances.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're proud to them. But she did this movie called Cheerleader Camp. That was her last movie, really.
I wonder if that's horror.
I think it might be.
Actually, I feel like you would know because you've seen so many of that like era.
I think it might be. I'm not sure, but yeah, her career was. I think she went probably back to dance stuff too. I mean, that's not going to show up on IMDb if you're doing dance on stage. But you know, Canon Films, what they want to do, like, and I'm excited we're talking about a Canon Films movie. Haven't done that on a podcast for a while, but this was. The fact that we both love this movie, the success of it and how good it is kind of a miracle because they rushed this thing to production. Like,
yeah, that's what I heard.
They were trying to cash in on the Beat Street from Orion was going into production and they wanted to beat it to the theater. And they did by like 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, it's not by much.
Or 2-3 weeks. And that was the goal. Just get me a breakdance movie now. And they did. And they won the box office battle between the two, but they wanted to crash in no matter what they were going to put something on the big screen. And they later would do this with the salsa craze in the late 80s, and they got salsa out a couple years before Lambada, which we just mentioned. That director, Breakin, did the competing one. But yeah, that was the thing. This is hot. We need a movie about it. We need a movie about it.
I'll tell you, I saw Breakin. I don't know if it was opening night, but I mean, I saw Breakin' in a packed theater and crowd loved it. It was great. And I absolutely remember my friend of mine bring this up. I remember we saw Beat Street, like you said, maybe 3 weeks later or something. And I like Beat Street.
Beat Street's a pretty good movie. Like they both are good movies.
It's definitely more of the Saturday Night Fever vein.
It's a drama.
It's definitely more of a drama.
Yeah.
But I remember being in a packed house for Beach Street, probably the same people that I saw Breakin' with. Like, it's probably the same strangers. And I remember about 40 minutes into Beach Street, somebody was like, "Get to the break-in," and then like everybody laughed because it is more of a drama. And it's like you've got a bunch of teenagers that just want to see dancing, and you're like, "That's I want to see the battles and everything." So, and again, obviously, as an adult, I appreciate Beach Street more. But yeah, when I was younger, Breakin' all the way.
Beach Street's the one you make down the road after you have a bunch of breakdance movies that are like really into the culture, and then you're like, "Here's the drama one.
Here's the grits."
It's the Logan of the the breakdancing movies.
That's good. Yes, it is.
But no, Beach Street is a good. They're both good. So I mean,
of course, yeah.
As viewers, we win. But yeah, if I'm going to a breakdance movie, I want Breakin'. I want like craziness, wild, showing the culture of it, and this one delivers on that, and it's just amazing to me it happened.
I think when I got them both on VHS, I think that Breakin' was the movie that my friends and I would watch from beginning to end. Beach Street was the movie that we would watch only the dancing scenes, and then we would try to like mimic the dancing scenes. It would be like, "Oh my God, that scene at the Roxy." Like, I know, like, you know, you put my VHS tape in, it's probably at that scene because that's the scene we would watch over and over again.
Gotcha.
I know there's a scene in Flashdance that you brought up, Jennifer Beals. There's one scene in Flashdance where Beals and her friends, they're walking down the street, and then there's like a breakdancing scene. Same thing. My videotape was always at that scene. That's the scene I want to see. But Breakin', I watched the whole thing. Just like the whole thing's just so much fun, you know.
Right. And
wrapped up in the
Breakin's kind of like the take a left at Flashdance, because she's going for that career, like same with Flashdance, but she spins to the pop thing, which she meets Ozone and Turbo, played by Adolfo Quinones, who recently passed away, which is very sad. I was but he was after this movie, he was deemed hip-hop's first matinee idol because of this movie's success. Michael Chambers, Turbo, he was known as Shrimp or Boogaloo Shrimp. He winds up being this choreographer throughout his career, hiding in like things like he was like the Urkelbot on Family Matters. He was the robot Bill in Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, and then he was like did the choreography for Do the Bartman. So I guess he just told them how to animate dancing.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and he was the visual reference for animating Casper in the Christina Ricci movie. Like, it was really crazy where he went on to do.
That is crazy. Wow.
But yeah, those two, just this movie lifts off with them. Like, and the way they mesh with Lucinda Dickey, like, really has a good friendship. Granted, there's a kind of chemistry with Ozone and her that go out too much, but I mean, it all works, and you get to watch her learn, be at odds, and how they appreciate her dancing and incorporate into theirs, and she gives to them and learns with theirs. That's a real neat give and take what they showcase there. This also, her friend here, I noticed, gay black man, just A-okay, fine. They didn't have to point it out. They didn't have to, act like they were heroes. I mean, it's true.
It's true.
Nice how
it's
just
true.
casual, like, that's what we want. Like, the insert, like, it was just crazy that they were able to just throw that in there back then.
Yeah, it's the kind of character that if you watch that character, she calls him Cupcake, right? Isn't that his if you watch that character now, it's like, I mean, it's a pretty over the top kind of like gay best friend, but you're right. It's like but it's also cool because you're right. They don't really make a big, it's like, it's your friend. I got to say, even cooler. It's not necessarily a leap for me to think that a jazz dancer in the 80s has a gay best friend.
Right.
That's not so strange. What is cool is that he's also friends with Ozone and Turbo.
Yes.
Like, they're just buds, and it's like, and like you said, it's not a big deal. I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I like that they're all, because that's her. He's the way that he's the one who introduces them to Turbo and Ozone, which I think is great. Yeah,
it's just funny to me, coming from Canon Films, the like Israeli backgrounds and stuff they have, that they would just be boom, like This is just totally controlled, like looking at the screen perspective, cinematographer, producer, director, that just let's do this. Like I would think, yeah, it's crazy to think that just, or maybe they just had the actor and let him be who he wanted to be. That's possible too.
It's true. Another thing that you might know, because I mean, I think maybe you have more information in front of you, is that like, shoot, I don't remember who the rival. Wait, what? I mean, I think
the rival. Electro Rock.
Do you know the Electro Rock? I love Electro. Yeah. But do we know what became of them?
No, I didn't. I didn't look up.
Two main guys.
The one that looks like he could be John Leguizamo's like older brother.
He does. And then
the
other guy with the Pink Floyd hats for some
and the
reason.
hair. Like, he had some good hair.
Yeah.
And the woman on their team, that when they dance, she looks like she's got switchblades in her hands when she's doing her little hand motion. I'm like, oh, she gonna stab somebody, but yeah.
I really love. Yeah, I love that. That's another thing too, is that introduced, I think maybe for my young mind, the introduction of a dance battle. It makes sense to me because I'm coming from genre, so I'm coming from like sci-fi with like these are the good guys, these are the bad guys, or you could say or in a Western or whatever. And so it works, even though, again, Breakin is very PG. It is not a dark, gritty look at urban life or anything. The violence in that is really more suggested and stuff. Like unlike
it's too silly to be intense,
right? Like what's the movie with Michelle Pfeiffer? Oh, Dangerous Minds.
Okay,
have you seen Dangerous Minds?
Yes.
Like
in the 90s, we bought the album. We went and saw them.
No, yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert: one of the kids dies in Dangerous Minds because of I think gang violence. But that you never really feel that in Breakin, like even though in theory, like you could go down that route if you wanted to, but they don't. Like, which I really love.
No,
like,
the worst is the creeper racist dance instructor for Special K, her regular dance.
Oh, the rapey guy. Yeah,
rapey guy, and he's totally racist too. He is way racist.
He's pretty awful.
This movie has a villain.
Yes,
it's him.
Yes, he's the right. He's. Wait, actually, I will say, I don't think he gets. I would say it would be a thing for that character to get punched. I don't think he does.
He just got.
I think he just basically.
I believe he got served.
Yeah, you're right. He got served. I'm sorry. You're right.
He got served.
Yes.
But yeah, and they have that club that they put together, which I'm watching it this time, and I'm like, oh, this is just a really small stage that they made look better. Like it's.
Oh, but I love it.
I know, I do love it. But yeah, when Ice-T, the cinematic debut in a feature film of Ice-T, he was in a documentary before this, but yeah.
That whole scene is terrific. But you're right, it's probably just a set, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Although I have wondered, because I was from Chicago, there were certain movies that when I thought of Hollywood and I thought of Los Angeles, certain things come to my mind. The two big ones is Sunset Boulevard and Point Break. Those are my Point Break, like was of my age, and then Sunset Boulevard, just classic, one of my favorite classic Hollywood movies. But even to a degree, Breakin, like they have a lot of use at Venice Beach and stuff. And so I am always wondering, like, wow, man, I wonder, are any of the locations in Breakin still around? Obviously, Venice Beach is still around.
Right. Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah. But like the big dance thing at the end, I have no idea where that's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be downtown LA? Like the Los Angeles Theater or something? I don't know.
Probably could be a set too. Could be a set,
Right. But I would wonder that. I'd be like, that'd be cool to take the Breakin tour of LA.
The Breakin tour, yeah, definitely get that going on. I would say Christopher McDonald is in this movie.
He's great.
And he's great.
He's good in it. Yeah.
And because of what we know, the roles he would play later, you feel like something's up with this guy, and he's just a really nice guy. He has an arc.
He's the agent, which typically is a sleazy character.
And he sends her gifts, and it's like
he sends her the flowers.
And he's like, street dancing belongs in the streets.
You're right, but you're right, because they've already got what do they call it in wrestling? The heel, is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Is the heel the bad guy, the foil? Or we've already got the dance teachers. He's the main.
Yeah.
He's the jerk. So they don't really need to do that for the agent.
But the agent, he stands up for them. He doesn't sleaze them out. He pushes for them. He buys into it. He gets some opportunities. He treats Ozone and Turbo with respect. Like,
yep.
Yeah, like, and you're like, this is Christopher McDonald. He's supposed to like be a dick. Like, I've seen Happy Gilmore. I've seen all his roles. He's got a snarl, but this is way before. Like, he had been on like Cheers before this. Like, that was so just really interesting to watch your own like meta thoughts on him not play out.
It would almost be like that guy. I don't remember his name. He's the jerk reporter in Die Hard, and he's the jerk teacher in Real Genius.
And Ghostbusters, he's the guy who...
And Ghostbusters, like, he's that guy, where it's like, oh, he's the...
Yeah, Christopher McDonald would be him in the 90s, yeah.
Correct, right, that guy. Like, that guy would be, yes. Actually, has that actor ever been a nice person in a movie? I don't know.
I think he was just that. That's how you wanted him if you cast him. Oh, yeah. Well, kind of. He was in, wasn't he in Spielberg's Sugarland Express with Goldie Hawn? He was the boyfriend.
Oh, you know what? I'm terrible. I've never seen it.
Oh, I think he was.
I've never seen that in Duel. Those are the two. Is that his first and second?
Yeah. Duel's a television movie. And
right.
Very good television movie. Probably one of the best television movies of all time. But both deal with car chasing and stuff. But yeah. Seek them out, Pete. They're good.
I got it.
But yeah, he's definitely an interesting person. And we have of course, his dance movie stuff would be without a montages and sequences like that. But
yes, basically a music video. Yeah. Speaking of music videos, right?
Love the one training. Maybe I just like the song, but the Shaka Khan Ain't Nobody training montage.
Of course.
Like, that one. I'm like, yes, hell yes, like dance. And I have to mention, of course, the Ozone and Turbo working the convenience store, the broom dance sequence.
Yes,
all timer.
That's is that track Tour de France or something? I remember I had the actual back in the day. I had when I had vinyls. I had the extended play of that track that he's doing when he's doing the broom. Yeah, I love that track. There's a lot of I feel like they also really picked a lot of really good music.
Let me grab something. I should have had this before we start. Hold on.
Okay.
This is great podcasting right here as I leave to grab a visual, but I should mention I have the Breakin action figure set.
Oh my god!
Which
Where did you get that?
comes with that broom.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. So this was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive like 7 years ago, or probably 2014. It was probably the anniversary. But I got somebody to grab me one and send it to me. So I wasn't at that one.
I'm so jealous.
I wanted this damn thing, and there's like a stereo cover that goes over it, but for those,
I think that's supposed to be his Godzilla t-shirt, but they don't have Godzilla on it.
Yeah,
because I think those lines. I think it's supposed to be the Godzilla shirt.
They probably didn't want to risk that.
Risk the rights, right?
But yeah, I was like, I have to have this because I love Breakin. And I have Breakin action figures because why not? Like, that's amazing stuff there. And $30, limited to like 2,000, only $10 or $30. So, but yeah, so I love that. I just, oh man, even the corny exchanges. There's a big moment where things are down and out, and Special K goes to Ozone on the beach, and they have a heart to heart.
Yeah, it's the Rocky 3 moment. Yes, it's Rocky 3,
but it's earned on the
beach.
It's earned.
It is. No, it is.
It works.
It's the same. Yeah, I'm afraid. It's great.
I do like it. We also have, of course, we have a scene where the rich people are made fun of. You go to the rich people party, like, oh, what is this?
The hoity-toity party, yes.
Hoity-toity
yes.
party. And then in the end, of course, the big showdown with their in front of the cracker white people that are like, what is this hip hop dancing you're doing? And they're like, oh, I love it. I love it. And they turn it into this stage production.
It's funny because in my Step Up essay, one of the things I like about Step Up 2 is that I feel like in most dance movies, we usually have the snotty girl and then she meets the street person, and then, you know, they have chemistry and blah, 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 blah. And what's interesting about what I liked about Step Up 2 is I like that Brandon Evigan's character is just a kid from Baltimore. She doesn't have really any privilege, and it's really the guy that's really more the rich guy, which I really like. Strangely, we haven't, with all the dance movies that have come since then, even in the Step Up realm, they haven't done that a lot. What's interesting about Breakin is, obviously this is way earlier, this is 84. When the movie starts, we see her as a waitress. So our first impression is, oh, whoa, so she's just working, she's doing her best. But not really, because then we later find, it's one of those weird things where it's, I wouldn't say it's a misdirect, but it's more, I think we're supposed to think that Kelly is a person who comes from money, but she's trying to make it on her own. And that's the issue, right? Like, whereas Andy in Step Up 2 really doesn't have anything to fall back on. She really does, like her mom's gone, she does. In this, they sort of are like, oh wait, unless that's in Step Up, maybe I'm confusing the two. Do we not find out that Kelly has rich parents until Breakin' 2? Maybe that's Breakin' 2.
That's Breakin' 2. Like this one, nobody's got parents.
So this one, she's the waitress, and we're just like, oh, she's struggling. But I like that. I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me how like a certain formula happens, and then Hollywood or whatever just kept that. It's always like privileged girl, usually white girl. Would it Save the Last Dance, or is that another one? And actually, I like all these movies, but yes, I do. I like it if our main character somehow has to struggle a little, even if it's a silly dance movie. I like that paying rent or whatever is still means something or whatever. So,
because that's what really a lot of artists have to go through. Yeah.
I mean, I ask you, do you like Breakin' 2 also?
Yeah.
I do. I don't. It is a weird thing. I feel like people love the name. It's a great name, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah. It's fantastic.
Which
but like for me,
promised at the end of this movie's so bold it promises a sequel.
It's true. Yeah.
Coming soon, Electric Boogaloo, the dance sensation of tomorrow.
This story's through, but wait for part 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bold.
And I remember back in the day, I was watching on my television. Roger Ebert was at the Cannes Film Festival, and he was interviewing the cast. I'm assuming it must have been for Breakin' 2, and they were asking plans, and Boogaloo Shrimp said they wanted to do Breakin' 3D, and I was like, oh my god, they're gonna do Breakin' 3D. This sounds amazing. And it never happened. It would have been great. It would have been, I'm assuming it would have been like Friday 13th Part 3. It would have been the dual camera.
Right, yeah.
Obviously it's not gonna be Avatar doesn't exist, so it wouldn't have been digital.
Right. Wouldn't have been done for depth. Yeah.
Imagine a Breakin' 3D. An alternate universe where that exists.
Could have done it. Should have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie, I gotta mention, like, talk about Breakin', this was a big hit. Like, it wasn't
like for what it costs.
So I mean, it cost $1.2 million and made back $38 million domestically.
Yes.
And I got curious. I popped it in to the inflation calculator. This is today. If this Breakin' was made today, it would have had just a little over $3 million budget and made over $100 million.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's insane. Like, that is huge. Like,
I would be curious, because you know this better than me, is the biggest at that time, because we're not at Blair Witch yet.
Yep.
At that time, is the biggest independent movie your poster? Is it the first Halloween? The first Halloween was like 60 million. It's a lot, right?
But oddly enough, it was, so for some reason the first Ninja Turtle movie qualifies as a independent feature. I don't know how that is, but it's under the realm. I think New Line picked it up. There's something with that production that's independent and it got thrown in there, but I don't know. I remember reading about thinking it was weird back in the day, but because there was Halloween had some sort of independent record until Ninja Turtles, and like I don't know
Huh.
how that happened, but do you know? So another monumental '80s film came out. They debuted the same weekend, and Breakin took it down. Do you know which one it is? I was
It
stunned. I
took
was
it
like,
down
took it down.
in 84.
84, the week of May
I
4th,
mean, I would be
19
so
weekend.
happy. I don't want to get into a fight, but I would be so happy if it's Ghostbusters because
It's
I don't
not.
love Ghostbusters.
No, because Ghostbusters and Gremlins opened together same weekend. But this was
what was it?
16 Candles. Breakin topped it
Oh,
at the box
yeah.
office, and 16
I mean, I
Candles
can
only.
see that. Yeah.
Also Hard Bodies and The Bounty came out that same week. So 4 new movies. I think
Wow.
we talk about having a lot of movies nowadays. Like these still happened back then. But Breakin, it held strong at the box office till Beat Street came out, but Beat Street only made $12 million. 16 Candles made 23 million, and it like falls quickly. 16 Candles. Breakin had a steady roll, and the top 10 that weekend. So I always get interested in these sometimes. Breakin' was number 1, 16 Candles number 2, Romancing in the Stone week 6 was number 3.
Yes.
Police Academy was on week 7. Hard Bodies,
The first Police Academy?
Yeah.
Huh.
Hard Bodies debuted. The Bounty debuted. Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan, Lord of the Apes was in week 6. Splash was in week 9 at number 8. Number 9, Moscow on the Hudson, week 5. Number 10, Footloose in week 12. I'm going to put 11 because it's my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Friday the 13th, the final chapter was in week 4. And that's the second highest grossing Friday the 13th movie in the 80s. So, and it was already out of the top 10. 3D.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
But that was, the highest gross, it was 34 million was the highest grossing Friday the 13th.
You know, I think I saw Final Chapter and Breakin' in the same Chicago movie theater.
Oh, wow.
The link. Yeah, I think I saw it the same. Now that you say that in my mind, I'm like, wait, where did I see? I'm like, oh, I think that's the same movie theater. Whoa, so Breakin' made more money than 16 Candles, which also means
made
I'm
15 million
16
more.
Candles. 16 Candles is a Universal film, so it must have cost more to make. It must have.
Yeah, had to have.
Like,
yeah, it was a small budget, but yeah. But it cost more.
Wait,
Ebert,
what did oh, go ahead, Ebert. Yep.
Ebert said of Breakin', a stiff and awkward story interrupted by dance sequences of astonishing grace and power. 1.5 stars out of 4.
Yeah, I remember. I remember that review, and I think
you got it wrong, Roger.
Too. Yeah,
oh, really?
I think he comes around on around on Breakin' 2, and I feel.
But he won't go revise Breakin'.
Right, but I feel like if you go on YouTube, you can watch Siskel and Ebert talk about the first Breakin', and Siskel likes it.
Okay.
Siskel's like, "Who cares, man? It's got such great energy. It's funny. Who cares?" And Ebert's like, "No, yeah." Ebert. Ebert's one of my favorites, but yeah, of course, you got it wrong. I was going to ask you so Breakin' made 38 million? Is that what you're saying? 38 domestic? What did Breakin' 2 make? Because it wasn't a hit.
It bombed bad. I can cut this
5 million or something.
I should have looked at Breakin' 2, but I did
Can't believe Beat Street only made 12 million.
12 million? No, it debuted low top 10 and was out in like 2 weeks. Breakin' 2, Electric Boogaloo, 15 million.
Oh, still more than Beat Street.
Yeah, 15 million. Debuted Christmas weekend. Or no, it didn't. Hang on. Why did? Well, they don't have records for that, huh? So yeah, there's no real record of its opening weekend. Came out the following year, Christmas time. So year and a half later, you got Breakin' 2.
I mean, I wonder if Breakin' 2 had made maybe 20 million, maybe we'd have gotten Breakin' 3. 3D. It had just made a little bit more money. Because it still would have not been expensive for them to make. I don't think Lucinda Dickey was suddenly getting a huge paycheck for Breakin'. Because you said she probably was under contract for Canon, right? Like you said. So she was probably just a player. Like, so Man. Do you think that it would be cool if, unfortunately, because there's only 2 remaining, but would it be cool? Would you be interested if they did a Breakin, either a show or movie, something where they would bring back some of the original players?
Oh, yeah, of course.
That'd be kind of cool.
As long as
Yeah,
they
I think
kept
that'd
it
be
fun and didn't try to get too serious with it. Like,
well, yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
That really, that's interesting. That's a really interesting time, that Friday 13th. So we have Friday 13th, you have Breakin. We definitely have these movies where audiences were flocking to see, and
yeah,
they're
these
not
are all things people wanted to see. Like,
people
it's
wanted
crazy.
to consciously see, and they weren't like, necessarily plot or character heavy.
Mhm.
Like, it didn't matter. Like, so.
Yeah, you have like Police Academy in there, Hard Bodies.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I mean, like, yeah, Footloose. That's another dance movie. Like, it's a lot of fun at the box office, honestly. Like,
I've never seen Hard Bodies or Police Academy.
oh,
Never seen those. I always feel like the Police Academy must be are they the raunchy comedy of the Friday 13th? Like the Friday 13th of their day for raunchy comedy?
I haven't,
because there's like a bunch. There's a bunch
I
of
was
them, right?
into them when I was in the 90s, going back. Like, I'd rent them at the video stores and stuff, but they all blend together to me now, and I haven't revisited them in a long time. And it's probably because they never released a Blu-ray set of them here in the United States. So that's possibly it. With it.
Interesting.
This was notable. This is the last Canon film to be released by MGM United Artists. They apparently, at the time of this release, they had a disagreement over John Derek's Bolero, which had an X rating, and MGM UA didn't put out X-rated stuff. So that was the end of their partnership.
Wait, are you saying Breakin' or Breakin' 2?
Breakin' 2 is a different distributor. The MGM didn't put it out. It was
okay.
Yeah, Bolero, the one where John Derek directs his wife to have sex scenes with other men. That had an X rating, and
oh my God, I totally forgot about that movie. I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
But no, I love Breakin'. I really do. It's weird. People are like, oh, ironically. I'm like, no, unironically, because it's fucking great.
Do you have any movies that you think you love ironically? I don't know if I do.
Well, I don't
like
know,
I know
Hackers.
Hackers is another movie I love, but I don't know if I love it ironically. I just really like Hackers.
I love like a movie like Miami Connection and like
oh sure,
like Dangerous Men. But is that ironically? I'm getting entertained. Like, I'm sure things are done poorly, and that's why I'm laughing. But that's entertaining. Like, to me, it's not ironic. It's just like that entertains me. So
I guess ironic is meant. I think what people mean by that is that it's not what it's not.
Right.
Yeah, like it's not what's intended. Oh, the Room. Right.
Right. Yeah. The Room. Yeah. The Room. Troll 2. Yeah. Plan 9.
Troll 2. Right. Yeah.
But, I love that stuff. Like, I grew up on Mystery Science Theater 3000, so I always loved those movies. But I'm like, I have a fondness, and I enjoy them because I'm entertained by them. For those, they do more for me than a lot of comedies can't do. Like, that's the thing. And a lot of people are like, oh, well, people could be like, that's mean to the people who didn't mean to make a bad movie. But I'm like, sure, but I appreciate these things. Like, I'm thankful for them for making them. So it's like, that's great. Like, you didn't, that's not the goal you set out to accomplish, but you accomplished a goal that a billion other filmmakers wish they probably could have. Like, there's people who try to make bad movies and suck at it. So I don't know.
Right. I mean, yeah, traditionally studios have a hard time. It's kind of the same thing where I think studio films have a hard time being deliberately campy.
Right.
Like, a camp movie is hard to make. Camp is
supposed to be genuine. Like,
yeah, it's a weird, strangely, I think I love the show, but Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, I don't think it's like the worst thing ever, but I definitely feel like it's a movie that, I think it's Fox, right? I think it's a big studio. I think it's a studio, but I think it's a movie that they're trying to somewhat tap into a camp quality, and it doesn't quite work. I still like other aspects of it, but if Whedon and I forgot who his co-writer is on that, but if they had made that on like a zero budget or something, it might have a much more genuine quality to it.
I think part of the rep for that is Joss Whedon not shutting up about not being happy with that for years. So I think people who are relatively fine with that movie, like all of a sudden would turn just because they have, well, Joss said this, and it's a fine movie. It's like it works. Like it's got a cult fan base, stuff like that. Like it's okay. No, the TV series is way better, but the film's still not that bad. It works, but
it's the example of like although technically is Rocky Horror Picture still a major studio? That's like
that was Fox.
The king of camp.
Fox put that out.
Oh, Fox again. I mean, all right. I mean, that's a camp classic, so or cult classic, whatever. So, like, would I call Breakin'? Is that a cult movie just because it's?
No, it's a giant box office hit. No way.
Yeah, but I think people now would think it's a cult movie
because it's.
But you're saying it's not
forgotten. It's not.
Right, because I was like, it was a huge hit.
It was a huge. There's movies that are Academy Award nominated. People are like, it's a cult film. I'm like, no, but it was Academy Award nominated. It was just time has passed and it's not in the conversation. That doesn't make it a cult film. Like a cult film,
correct.
A cult film has to like have horrible reviews to go with bad box office or something like that and be underseen entirely.
Would that be? Is Blade Runner that?
Blade Runner is a cult film. Yeah, the original Blade Runner is a cult film.
The original Blade Runner. The Thing, bombed. John Carpenter Thing.
Yeah, John Carpenter's The Thing is a cult film. But then I argue too, as time has passed, they were cult movies for so long, they've been brought up in the lexicon as films you have to see and bona fide good films. It's reflected. So are they cult films anymore? That's a question I've been posing a lot. Like in the recent years, it's like,
so you're saying that status can change.
Is Rocky Horror a cult film? Everybody knows what that is. It's popular. People do it. They have midnight screenings of it. Like you can buy a Blu-ray of it. It would be on TV. Like sometimes they reverse. Like they were a cult film for a long time, but now that cult, like The Big Lebowski, is it a cult film anymore? They have a festival for it every year that's overpopulated and sold out. So that's my thing. Like, is it a cult? Like, and it's harder in our information era. It's harder to find something that's truly a cult movie because you can find a podcast on it or this. People are wanting to find that next cult movie and populate things up. That it used to be something you heard word of mouth, someone told you about. Not something you could go and find 80 articles on or something like that. So I'm not going to gatekeep cult movies, but I'm just wondering on the definition. I'm like, is it right anymore? Or do we have them? I would say, I mentioned Annihilation earlier. Probably a good candidate for modern cult movie.
I mean, critics liked it though.
Critics did like it, but I mean,
critics liked it, but
you can be a critically liked movie and poor box office and then no Academy Awards and still be a cult film because then the critics pushing the cult thing away. It's just, it's hard to find what I would deem a real cult classic nowadays because everything's there. Everything gets promotions. Everything gets talked about. There's the in defense of everything or,
true.
It's weird. It's weird.
I mean, I think that popular horror series and to the same degree popular dance series like Step Up movies and stuff, I think those are mostly profitable and they're a brand. So I don't know. It's just that what we would think of as mainstream audiences, when they think of Friday the 13th or Step Up or something, they think that they're just like kind of not very good. So to that mentality, it becomes smaller or culty. But they wouldn't have made that many Friday the 13th or Step Up movies if they weren't making money.
Right.
So like, yes, they were clearly hit. And everybody knows if you say Step Up or Friday the 13th, people know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Even if you haven't seen it, you know what it is.
But if you say Subspecies, there you go. There you can. I would argue Subspecies is probably still cult territory if you want to call any of those a classic, but it does have their fans, I guess.
Interestingly, my brother and his wife have a series that they love, and I've never seen it. and I think they like it like a cult movie. And I'm curious if you have you seen Undisputed 3? It's some
Oh,
action wrestling, like MMA,
I've
maybe an
I've
MMA
seen
thing or
2
something.
with Michael Jai White.
Okay,
I
yeah, it's
had
a
to
good
do
guy.
the
I haven't seen
DVD for
these, but
2. It was about
uh,
him boxing in a prison in Russia.
yes, I think it's a pure prison thing. Yes, I think you're right. I think it is a
Mhm.
prison. That's the theme. But yeah, so that is not super big. I'm
Right.
like,
There's a
okay,
lot of
yeah,
there's
maybe
a lot
that.
of
Like, yeah,
action
like they,
movies that are like Indonesia is like a hotbed for action movies right now. I don't know why, but you can find all these on like some of them come to Netflix and stuff, and like I would say that's good candidates for cult movies or definitely a lot of the action movies nowadays because you have to hear from somebody about them. So yeah, they probably yeah. It's just it's not that they're gone or the definition altering, and we live in different times. It's evolving. So
was
it's-
was Texas Chainsaw Massacre a hit?
oh
You
yeah,
consider that a cult?
no that was
That was a hit.
quite that was well reviewed and phenomenon of the time. It traveled. The releasing was different back then, but it was quite good. I would say if
I
you want to go
always
with
think,
cult, Black Christmas back then. That was a cult. It was a Canadian movie.
okay,
Got smaller release. A lot of people look back on it now. Had a home video life, but that would be a cult movie. I would think from that era.
I mean, I tend to, when I think of the 70s, I think of Halloween and The Exorcist. So
Yeah.
you have a small movie and then you have a studio film, and they
Right.
were both juggernauts. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'm always like, well, I know it's critically liked, but I'm always like, I don't know how big it was. Like, I mean, and it took forever to get a sequel. Like, how long does it take? Is it the
didn't want to. It
80s?
was 86. Yeah.
Oh, so you think Hooper just didn't want to make a sequel, which
He
wasn't
didn't. And
a
then
thing.
all the slasher guys got popular in the 80s. So Cannon gave Toby Hooper a 3-film deal. Because Toby Hooper wasn't getting any jobs, and they said they gave him a 3-film deal as long as one of them was a sequel to Texas Chainsaw Massacre and had Leatherface in it. That was their deal. And they also offered it up to Carpenter to do Michael Myers, and he was down with producing one, but Mustafa Akkad and I think Irwin Yablans was still ownership rights. Thought he was trying to sabotage shit with the script he was approving and stuff, and that deal got pulled. So, but Michael Myers, they were supposed to do a Halloween movie in 86 or 87 with Canon Films, and that never happened. And pulled on Carpenter was supposed to do a multi-picture deal with them too, but couldn't get that to happen.
I also wonder if, like, what we're also talking about is the eras that these came out in. I do wonder, obviously in the 30s and 40s, you have Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers are making a ton of dance movies. I'm pretty like, if we had friend of the show Yancey Burns here,
Yeah.
he could tell me, or maybe you can tell me. I'm sure that at the same time, Swing Time and those movies were coming out, there must have been smaller produced dance movies that other studios were making, because at the time that was very popular.
Yeah.
So it actually makes me wonder, like, if Breakin, if somehow the culture was even more into that they wanted more of it, like they did in the 30s and 40s, we might have had like seven of those things or whatever.
Right.
Whereas what the culture was interested in was slasher movies. So we got a lot of Friday the 13th and Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and everything. But I do think that might be like a cultural, like what people really wanted, what teenagers and stuff wanted.
Well, we also got a lot of slobs versus snobs comedies too.
You're right.
So that was popular as well.
But yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think of that. But either way, yeah, I love Breakin'. It's absolutely one of my favorite films that I grew up with and that I've seen so many times. I honestly think that I know I saw Breakin' more in theaters than The Empire Strikes Back. I've probably seen The Empire Strikes Back more than I have Breakin'. I've seen The Empire Strikes Back so many times on VHS, but honestly, Breakin' is probably in the like top 5 for like a thing that I just watched all the time.
Oh wow!
But yeah, Empire, I've seen that more. That was just my go-to.
Just what
Was
happens.
that something you watched a lot? Like, I'm assuming you saw
Empire
All-Star
Strikes Back.
over and over again.
The Empire Strikes Back special edition is the movie I've seen in the theaters the most times.
Oh, how many?
It was only it was like 5 or 6 times, but that was without a car when I was like I think it was like a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And well, no, I'd have been 15. So yeah, no car. But yeah, I just, cause I was like, I don't know if these are ever going to come to the theater again. And I actually saw it. Every time I saw it, I picked a different spot in the theater to see it. So like I actually sat like to the side looking up like that to watch it one time.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was, people will knock those special editions, but those were a big deal to me because I got to see Star Wars on the big screen for the first time. So yeah, but yeah,
Were you not into slasher movies until later in life, or
no, I was
same
in
time?
slasher movies then. Yeah.
Okay,
I saw,
alright.
well, like I saw Halloween H2O twice in the same day when it came out. So
Whoa.
the first and last showing of that day. It was a big deal to me. So
Wow. I did that for Force Awakens. I saw it
okay.
First and last show.
I
haven't done that a lot.
I saw Attack of the Clones at the midnight show and then the 4 o'clock show the next day. So
4 a.m. or 4
no,
p.m.?
4 p.m. 4 p.m.
Okay.
So
nice.
Yeah,
I think the most I've seen a movie is 7, but I feel like 2 or 3 movies I've seen 7 times. I saw Phantom Menace 7 times, Terminator 2 7 times. And actually, I think I saw Breakin 7 times.
Oh.
Breakin's a little trickier because I was in elementary. I don't know.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw it a lot. But
I
feel like 7 is my cap.
I saw Batman Begins like 4 times. Because I kept finding people that hadn't seen it. I was like, oh, we're going to Batman Begins. Let's go. I was like, we're going there. Let's go see it. I saw Cloverfield a bunch. Gosh, I can't remember. But yeah. But I know, yeah, Empire Strikes Back Special Edition is the film I've seen most in the theaters.
Wow, that's awesome.
Fun fact.
I mean, that's great. Like, yeah.
All right. Well, we will move on to what else? This is where we just talk about anything we've taken in recently, like or maybe put out in the world. So like movies, music, games, books, whatever. Pete, what else?
The other thing that I've been really into, so games is Mass Effect. Have you ever played Mass Effect? I never know.
I'm not a big gamer. No, not much. My gaming's retro gaming, and I swear I'm gonna play Breath of the Wild all the way through.
Oh, it's fantastic! Yeah, Breath of the Wild, amazing. Mass Effect is a sort of Star Trek meets Star Wars. Like the fun is more like Star Wars, but the setup is that you are a captain of this big spaceship called the Normandy, and you go and save the universe and everything. But I will say that so Mass Effect, what's interesting about Mass Effect that I think you might be interested in is that Mass Effect is one of the first, I mean, actually technically I'm sure it's not the first, but maybe it's the first on a big scale. It's the first video game. The original Mass Effect, the first one came out in 2007 or 2008. And then Mass Effect 2 and 3 were like 2 years apart or whatever. When they decide to re-release Mass Effect, what they did was they took the code and they kept the same Unreal 3 engine. I think right now we're on Unreal 6 or something. And what's interesting to me about playing the Mass Effect trilogy again a decade later on my new shiny PlayStation 5 is that it runs great. The load times are fantastic. Same voice acting and everything, but they didn't remake it. And I think that's an interesting. Final Fantasy just was done as a remake. Final Fantasy used to be 2D kind of 3D polygon.
Yeah.
Now it's this lush 3D thing, and it looks amazing. But there is a difference in a video game between a remake, which means they take the essence of, they trying to keep the spirit of the game, but it's basically a brand new game, or a remaster. Remasters have been done before, but they're usually within a smaller time frame. Like The Last of Us, the first one is maybe a year or two between the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4. What I think is interesting as a film fan is that this remake of Mass Effect, it kind of reminds me of a Criterion collection.
Gotcha.
Because when you look at a Criterion film, the idea, or even I remember you and I have had these conversations off podcast about the arguments people had when I think you said Halloween, was it when it came on Blu-ray or DVD, and the way
Color
they did the
timing?
transfer, some people,
Yeah.
some people thought this is wrong, this looks terrible, and other people like, no, this is great, this is what they wanted, or whatever, and that becomes a thing in the it becomes a conversation. So that is very much a big thing in Mass Effect, where they took the code, they used the same engine, but obviously what worked on a 720 HD television is not going to work color wise on a 4K HDR. So they had to make changes.
Right, yeah.
And in general, I would say the critics mostly like it. But there are some who really don't. They're really like, no, this totally takes away from the aesthetic of what the original was. And that, again, that's what reminds me of the conversations about a Criterion transfer or the Halloween transfer. Because you know so much more about that than I do. But there is an art to taking something and you want to make it watchable or playable on a new television and a new audio system, but it's always, I guess, that balance of like, how much are you doing to keeping the essence of what the art of the film is, sort of like when you're talking about like a Fulci, right? The first time you see Zombie on Blu-ray, it looks way cleaner than whatever VHS you saw of like that. But so I guess, but anyways, I love Mass Effect. I'm a huge fan. It's a huge trilogy. I've already finished all 3 games. I've already gone through my 70 hours, and I've already started a new campaign. And I'm sure Aaron, friend of the show, will say I should be watching more movies. But I'm a huge fan of it. But I do think that's an interesting conversation, is that we are in these last 10 or 15 years, we're in an era of like, what do you as a fan want, or what displeases you about taking something from an earlier era and then repackaging it in a way. I don't know. I think you must find, because the Halloween thing, you know so much about that stuff.
Well, I mean, ideally that was supposed to be one of the benefits of CGI. Like, you're supposed to be able to continue to work on it, to continue to, and they don't typically. They don't. I mean, some get polished up, but not to the degree that we thought they were. So you get these 90s movies with these like prehistoric CGI that were intended to be refurbished. It's only been done like Star Trek The Next Generation. When those came to Blu-ray, they had to completely redo the effects because they were rendered in like SD and wouldn't transfer. So
480 or something.
They had to rescan the films, re-edit the episodes, redo the special effects. Like, that's what was the intention, but now we just keep moving. Who cares? Just release it as it is. So, but because it's really expensive too. But I mean, the Star Wars movies, as they've come to home video, have tweaked their effects to look better.
I think when people jump on the special editions, they just mean Jabba the Hutt and Han shooting first, because there's no way. I mean, there are
aesthetic, there's cosmetic fixes that I don't want to go away. I don't want to see through cockpits. I don't want to see shadow boxes around ships.
Right. Yes. Oh, is that what it's called when you see the
shadow box?
And there's that weird box thing. Yeah, I don't want that. So I was like,
no.
No, that would be terrible. Like, yes, absolutely. Because what people talk about, I want the original Star Wars. I'm like, you don't really want the original. You just want those scenes taken out.
Yeah, you want at least to start at the THX versions from the 90s.
That's
the start.
Right.
Yeah, so there's that. But what else? I watched Willy's Wonderland over the weekend with Nicolas Cage.
I don't know what that is.
He doesn't say a single word in the movie. He's this guy who has his car break, like he runs over some police spikes on accident, and he has to get his car fixed in this podunk town that doesn't have an ATM. And he doesn't have enough cash to have it fixed, but they offer him, like, if you work for it, we'll do it. And there's this old Chuck E. Cheese type place called Willy's Wonderland, and he just has to clean the place up overnight, and they'll fix his car for him, have it ready in the morning. Well, this place is like haunted, and the animatronics come to life, and he
it's the video game thing.
has to survive the night. It's Five Nights at Freddy's, which is something my
Five
kids
Nights
are
at Freddy.
My kids are obsessed with. So they're all asking about like, how is this movie? Would Five Nights? I'm like, I thought it looked like fun. It was for the most part fun, but it did look and feel a lot cheaper than I thought
When
from
was
the trailer.
it made?
Last year. It came out last year.
Because I'm like, I feel like if this was a classic 80s or 90s Cage, I would have heard of this. So.
But no, it's just, he was a producer on it too. But it's all right. It's not long. That's good. And it's not the special effects that look cheap. They actually look pretty darn good, and they have people in costumes and stuff. But it's the aesthetic look of it looks cheap. Like just not by design. Just like, oh, has this person directed anything before or something like that? But it's on Hulu.
I think it's, I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I know that I also recently watched Event Horizon, and I don't really have a problem with the aesthetic, but I did, and I like the movie, but I did feel that there was it feels like the kind of thing where I was like, oh well, they didn't have Ridley Scott alien money,
right?
I'm like, so it doesn't look like that. I still like it though. Whereas I'm just thinking of it because you have it in the background. I watched the 4K. Did you tell me it was a UK release? I watched Prince of Darkness.
Oh yeah.
Let me borrow it. And that's not a big budget movie, but it looks fantastic.
Yeah,
and the way they did the Mercury shot with the devil's hand coming out or whatever, it looks great. Like, I mean,
that news clip
like
at the end is one of the most haunting images I've ever seen of that thing coming out of the building, and that's cheap old news with a film, and it's horrifying. Like, just but good stuff. But Willy's Wonderland.
I've never heard of that Nicolas Cage. Interesting.
So that'll do it for today. Pete, thank you for coming on the show proper. We had loads of conversations. So if you are into the uncut video version episodes, I'm sure there's a lot more going that you missed on this that went into there. So good stuff all around. And let my listeners know that I'm sure they'll hear you again on a commentary here in the near future. But until then, where can they keep up with and find your work?
Oh, on social media, I'm like on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Pajamo. And that's on YouTube is where I'm trying to do my doing my video essays and movie reviews. I'm hoping to get some more up there. And then I write for same place as you. I write for whysoblu.com.
All right.
I mostly do theatricals. You do more of the home video stuff.
There we go. True. Yeah. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. Written work at whysoblu.com. This Friday, if you are in the Midwest or Indianapolis area, come to PopCon convention. I'll be a guest there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Come see me at my booth. I'll be doing a live show with voice of the show, Jessica Alsman. She'll be joining me for that. She'll be there Saturday too. And then also I'll be on a Doctor Who panel discussing the show. Been invited on that, so pretty exciting. And so come see me there at PopCon Fort Wayne at the Indianapolis Convention or Indiana Convention Center, I think it's called. Going to be a fun time. The first event there since the pandemic started. So pretty awesome. So, all right. Well, there is also more of this week from the Brandon Peters Show. But until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film discussion.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.